If you missed the webinar viewing portion of Los Jets, you can find the series online for free and watch it prior to the discussion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our program, Los Jets, A Home on the Field, presented by Cape Fear Museum. We are very excited that we will be joined by original members of Los Jets soccer team, Daniel Estrada and Evie Morales, along with the founding coach, Paul Cuadros. For the first 30 minutes of the program, we are going to stream an episode of the 2014 Jennifer Lopez executive produced docuseries, Los Jets. This episode, titled Meet the Jets, introduces the players and the coach, along with some of the challenges they face working towards a championship as a majority Latino team in rapidly changing Siler City. Following this viewing, our moderator, Juliana Vaca Tricheri, will lead us through a discussion with the team and coach about their experiences and the legacy they're leaving behind. I'd like to thank the New Hanover County Office of Diversity and Equity for helping us to put on this program and amplify this message. Thank you to Travis Corpening and Marimer McKinsey. We really appreciate it.
Breaking news! We forgot to record the beginning of this webinar, but don't worry, you only missed the first question. Here it is. It's the 20th anniversary of Los Jets soccer team. What have you done to ensure the legacy of Los Jets lives on?
Well, I'll kick that off and then I'll pass it to the players. The legacy lives on, I think, in the passion of the players themselves and in the hearts of the community. It is not uncommon to have ex-players come back and say hello to me, want to help me coach the team, participate in some way. They have developed and retain wonderful memories of their time with the program. And so that, we're always circling back in some way. But I'll pass that on to Evie and Daniel to respond.
Like Coach was saying, I know I've had a couple of instances where I come back and just kind of see how the team is doing, try and visit whenever I can. And
Yeah, kind of frozen there. What about you, Evie?
Hey, Paul.
Don't know
like
anything.
Paul said, it's just, it's been a while since I live in Wilmington, North Carolina now. I got involved with the Wilmington Hammerheads down here. Coach Aiden at UNCW. We're very, very good friends. And just soccer for us as a Hispanic community has a big impact on us. And going back, I always try to help Paul with some stuff, and it's always good to catch up with him. But I think most of what I gotten is from soccer, from sport, and from just the Hispanic community. It's just making sure that we support each other. Right now, I have a good friend that I should start a business with, and it's a privilege to kind of continue working with the Hispanic community with that sense. And so just giving back for sure. It's always a good thing, and that's where we're gonna head eventually with our business. Hopefully, we can give back to the community and support the schools and athletics.
Awesome, thank you so much. And Paul, you guys recently also started the Lady Jets. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. It's not just started because the Lady Jets started at the same time as the boys. So that's a 20-year program as well. And I coached it for 10 years. And we've won a couple of conference championships with the ladies. It is a predominantly Latina team. And, they have just as much passion as the boys.
Great, thank you. And in the first episode, Paul, you also mentioned that, with a level playing field, your guys and gals could be the best, so what does that mean for you? What does a level playing field look like for you?
Well, it certainly doesn't refer to the actual field because
right.
it has this big crown in it. You guys remember that? It has that big crown in the middle of the field. It really means, just having all the same opportunities as everybody else. And when you have unfettered access to those opportunities, then, this community can excel and nothing can hold them back. And I think that's really the story of the Jets, is that when you let them play and let them participate, they'll go on and they'll do great things.
Yeah, which brings me to another question for the players. How has the confidence that you gained from playing on Los Jets transferred to other areas of school or your life? Obviously we saw in the episode that we just watched kind of how, your life is not only soccer, but you're also still students, and, that confidence that you gain from being on the field can perhaps, persist into other areas of your life.
Well, for me, I was able to attend college. I actually graduated back in 2018, and there was just this constant pressure for me, I think, to kind of um, take my parents' sacrifices and kind of like the Latino sacrifices as a whole, and just show that even though we might not have as many opportunities as the rest, that we can still continue studying and become somebody in life, and kind of set kind of an example, I guess, to the future generations as well as coming up. But yeah, like I said, I was able to graduate school. I had the opportunity to actually go to school, and I know that many people who may have migrated to this country may not have those opportunities. So I figured I'd take the opportunity, do the most I could with it, and just try my best to try to give back to the community in some way.
Thanks for sharing, Daniel. Evie, do you have anything to add?
My answer is going to be pretty close to his as well. It's just for me, I was blessed to have Paul Cuadros as an influencer before influencer was the thing, because if Paul recalls, I was very adamant about just joining the Marines or the Army, just because school was never a thing for me. School for me was always a very negative thing, and I struggle with it. And soccer was the only thing that I ever wanted to do. And so I got lucky because he's like, well, at least go to community college. And then if you still want to go join the military, then you go. So we came to the tryouts here at Cape Fear Community College. I met Robert McGee, which was the athletic director for Cape Fear Community College. And he told me that I made the team. And Paul at that time told me I had a choice. It was like, either you move to Wilmington and kind of follow your dream a little bit. It's not what, every college kid that plays athletics wants a Division I, just play at a Division I level, but it didn't happen. And so that kind of set me up for, meeting good people down here in Wilmington. And then I moved to UNCW, meeting the players down there with Coach Aiden at UNCW, and then just meeting really good friends, and graduated. I'm not going to say I graduated great grades, but at least, I think I was one of those kids at the time where I was so stubborn with just playing soccer that I'm just blessed that I was born here and I had a good parent, and I had a Paul that ended up, being one of the lucky ones where I actually graduated and make something out of it. So, that's why I'm so adamant about giving back to the community, because if I tried a little bit, get people that actually want to try even harder to get a diploma, to get a career, to get something going. And I think sometimes we end up focusing so much on strategy when it comes to Hispanic population. We really don't focus on, there's a lot of people that actually have success stories. And I think sometimes we traumatize people a little bit too much when it comes to it's all negative. It's always they're bear down, but there's a lot of success within the community that we need to shine on, so people can have, something to look up to. It might not be me, but it might be somebody else.
I think that's a really great point, Evie, that, when you have an emerging community, that there's all this attention and focus on the trials and tribulations of that community. And it seems like, that's all that really kind of happens. And there's no doubt that our community struggles with lots of different issues. And some of those are very, very hard issues. all the way from documentation to trauma within families, depression, all kinds of different things that our kids struggle with, including access to opportunities. But it's not all that. There is a complete story here, and the community is not just those stories of being like the downtrodden, but rather there are victories, there are champions, there are successes. And that's a story that has to be told in its totality to understand the community and to sort of humanize us.
I think that's a great point, Paul. And I think that the series and your book does a great job at highlighting just like the vibrancy of the Latino community, despite any setbacks. And I think that that's something to highlight, like you said. And we actually received a great question from an attendee, Jan Davidson, saying, having watched high school soccer here in New Hanover County, it's clear that there's a lot of pressure on the players to perform, but at the same time, they're kids. Could the players talk about how they handled the attention?
Yeah, I mean, I coached for the Wilmington Hammerhead, so I kind of saw pressure like firsthand where parents, not all parents, but all like sometimes the pressure is put too hard on kids to act as adults, and they're not adults. They're kids trying to play a sport that they love. And I mean, I coached U16 girls since they were 12, so they became like my girls. So it was one of those things where they would come crying from school and saying, Coach Abby, like, like I just don't know I'm performing well, and like my parents telling me that if I don't score goals, like, like they're gonna take me off the team. And I was like, well, let me deal with that. It's like I always made fun of, because I told them, I was like, the only time you need to stress is when I'm yelling at you, like not your parents, because your parents don't know soccer. And which I never did, because one of the things that Paul never did to us, he never yelled to us, and he never in front of people or when we were ourselves. So I learned that it's better to kind of level with a player instead of, minimizing them with language and talking down to them. They kind of respect you more when you actually talk to them like they're individuals, they matter. And most of the time I had the conversation with the parents, and I told them, look, you already have your shot. And you made whatever you made out of the sport. Now it's their time. Let them make decisions for themselves. They're 15, 16. And it's tough to have a conversation with parents with that, especially in the United States, because soccer is a very expensive sport. So parents are paying money. They expect a quality out of their kids and learning curfew. And if they don't think they're getting that, they think that, they're paying for nothing pretty much. So you got to just let them realize, look, this is an experience that you're trying to give to your kids. The biggest, I've learned something with coaching when I went to my sessions is like, the most I've learned is, if you actually want somebody to get a scholarship, might as well save that money that you're paying for club ball, save it for 4 years, and there's your scholarship for college. I was like, so that's the thing that I always told parents. I was like, if you're looking for a scholarship, soccer's not the thing to be, because a lot of schools don't give scholarships, full 50, 10, whatever the case may be. So for me, it was a lot of comforting the kids, letting them know that this is their decision to make. And at some point they have to have a conversation with the parents. It's not the best thing that they want to do, saying, Dad, I just want to play for fun, and that's where actually I think soccer differentiates a little bit in the United States between different places. It's like you can always put a soccer ball down in somebody's feet somewhere else, and then they'll just play for fun, compared to here where it has to be structure so that you can actually learn something. And that's my 2 cents on that. Sorry, I talked too much.
No, thank you, Evie.
Daniel, you were on the Los Jets television series, so that's a lot of attention right there. Can you tell us a bit about your experience going through the filming of that series, because it was a crazy time?
Yeah, I think initially it was very weird, for lack of a better word, just because like you had like cameras in your face the whole time. They were kind of filming all the like like, not, I wouldn't say every single minute, but they were filming a lot of the time we were playing on the field, where there was practice, games, even on the bus ride, as you saw, like in the film. Um, so it's very weird to just have like every single moment that you shared as a team being filmed, whereas before it was like that wasn't a thing. It was just kind of, it was kind of almost private, just between your team and like your little community that you had. Um, but of course, like as time went on, it was kind of became a new norm. We got to know like the directing team and like the camera crew and everything pretty well throughout the whole process. So they became very good friends of ours, and like every so often, I know Paul and I will like have like little conversations with the team. And I actually visited California a couple years ago, and I actually got to meet up with the directors and camera crew a little bit. So they become more like family as time went on. But it definitely wasn't the case at first. It was you almost felt a little more pressure to perform well, just because you didn't want to, like, I guess in my opinion, seem like the person who didn't do well on the team and kind of wasn't the best. So it put a little more pressure on the team, I think, in that regard.
Yeah, I'll add that, one of the things that I'm looking to try and do, and this dovetails with what Evie was saying as well, which is, I have high expectations for the players. I have high expectations for them on the athletic field, and I have high expectations for them in life. So I challenge them. I mean, I really challenge them in terms of soccer, but I challenge them also in representing the team and representing their community and learning to speak and have a voice. And then later on, I try and get them to engage in civic volunteerism or civic engagement in some sort, all in an effort to create Latino or Latinx leaders, because that's really what we're kind of sort of doing with the team, is that we're creating leaders for our community. So, at a very young age, yes, they have a lot of attention on them. Yes, they're representing their school, their community, and their own dreams and families. But they're also gaining valuable skills to step up, to be seen, to be held accountable for their actions, their behaviors, and then also to speak and to represent. So I know sometimes, like for some of the boys, when we were thinking about doing the television series, is this something that they could handle? And I started thinking about that, and I thought, yeah, I think they can handle this. And I thought also that what was really important about the documentary series was that we were going to see and hear from these kids directly. And that's something that we don't get in the media. We don't get to see Latino youth, Latino boys, young men being themselves and speaking into the camera. That is an image and a portrayal that is lacking in the media and entertainment media and news media. And that's something that I thought that the series would, be able to correct. And it did.
That's awesome. And certainly you see that some of the misinterpretations that the community would get when they would see the Latino boys congregating, just to play a round of soccer, and they would think that they're up to no good. So it's great to give them the voice and the opportunity and the platform to kind of just showcase who they are as individuals, and to share that with the community and the world. But Travis Corpening also asks, how often do kids want to know about your story and ask you for advice because of the TV series?
I mean, I get inquiries all the time about the Jets as a story, and because it's such a great story, and it's a continuing story. So, the program is 20 years old, but all the issues that Home on the Field and Los Jets, the television series, deals with are still present today. And that's because we're a continuing sort of emerging community. One thing we have less of on the team right now is we have less kids who have come from abroad. We have more kids who have been born in the United States and grown up here. So that's a different facet of the community that's happening. But I get inquiries all the time about the Jets, and people want to be affiliated or part of the program. I get requests for people from all over, for a jersey. Can I get a jersey? How do I get a jersey? And I'm talking about complete strangers that are asking for this stuff. And I don't have them. I'd have to, special order them. But I've done that. I remember I had a dad one time, his son loved the program so much and he wanted a jersey. And this was just a little kid. He was like 10 years old. And I was able to get him a Jets jersey and send that in the mail to him. So it's had a broad impact.
That's great to hear. All right. I guess our next question, in the show, you mentioned some of the advantages that your rivals may have over you, that being more resources, more, time training and full like year-round training and access to that kind of thing. But what qualities or cultural values do you see that's instilled in the Latino community and in the Los Jets community that makes them successful at soccer or sports or other endeavors in general?
Wants to go first?
And this is for everyone, so don't be shy.
Daniel, what do you think?
Way to put me on the spot, Paul.
Yes. I do that in my classes. I just
Your students must love you.
Yeah.
They'll stay quiet unless you call on
them. Well, I guess if we're comparing like what the differences are, I mean, yeah, like you said, like there isn't much of a, I guess, soccer program. I know it's like really new in Siler City, or I guess Chatham County. Whereas comparing to like other counties like Orange County, mainly I guess being Carborough and some other schools up there like Chapel Hill, they have a lot more yearly training or like more club ball that they play. So when comparing that to Chatham County, which doesn't have much of any of that, of course, there's like a big difference in experience being gained playing the sport, even getting to know the players around you, because club ball, a lot of times you're going to be playing with people who are on the same teams, or maybe people who are in the same conferences as you. So you get to know a lot about the players that you're playing against or playing with, so that you get to kind of build that chemistry and stuff with those players. And that just isn't much of a case coming from a really small town and a community where soccer may not be viewed as something that is necessarily important or money earning, I guess you could say. So there is like a vast difference in those two different regions, I guess. So that's just like soccer specifically. I don't know if Evie or Paul want to maybe comment on something else regarding that question, if I can put you guys on the spot.
I mean, for me, honestly, since I was a player and then a coach and just manage the stuff, I think it's just soccer in the United States has a long way to go, in my opinion, because we've breaking it so far down where parents are running everywhere. We have high school, which is a different season, club ball, which is a different season, and then we have like other little leagues. And I mean, I saw my kids play in high school and travel at the same time. And we always, as coaches, when we sat down with Kenny Bundy or Carson Porter, which were my directors, it's like the only thing that we always said is like, kids are only going to be 100% that first week, always, because afterwards you're stretching them thin, and that's why injuries occur. That was our outlook to it, because they're, especially down here, we have, my girls would go surfing in the morning, they would go to school, eat whatever they, sandwiches, whatever, and then they would come practice, and by that time they're spent.
I'll chime in now. I think that we don't have as many resources as other areas do in terms of club football and all that stuff. But our style is more street. where the boys are playing everywhere, tennis courts, on the street, whatever. But I think what they really bring is their passion for the game and love of the game, and I think that that's a good equalizer. And it's really about family for the program. So on some teams, I've coached multiple brothers on the team at the same time. Evie, I think that was your situation with you and Francisco and Omar, and that makes for a different dynamic, for the team and for the program itself. It's really very much a family oriented experience. It's what makes us really tight. What can fuel, our wins, and it's very much different than what you would get like in a club situation because of that. So, passion and family are really the things that we sort of bring with the program.
Great, thanks. But thank you all for answering our questions today. Paul, I remembered in one of our planning meetings, you mentioned that, this story is really just one of many in our country, in our region. And, moreover, the importance of highlighting those voices, like we've said a couple of times today. Are there any words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us with as we wrap up?
Yeah. I mean, you can find this story all over the place. Pender County is another place that has a Jet story where you guys are. Let's see, Alamance County, Randolph County. I mean, all these counties have high schools that have predominantly Latino teams in them that are doing the same things that we are. James Keenan's another high school, Rose Hill, Wallace Rose Hill's another one. And sometimes we all play each other, in the tournament and the state playoffs, and sometimes, we never see each other. But this is a story that's replicated here in North Carolina and across the South and across the Midwest. And that's simply because the Latino population is growing in the United States. And, this is really a part of our story. This is a part of our community. Soccer is a part of our community, and it's how we express ourselves. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Juliana. Thank you, Paul, Daniel, and Evie. We are so appreciative of your time and that you could share this wonderful story with our museum. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. Once again, I want to remind everyone before we get off that our Team Up exhibit is open. It will be open through the summer. Please stop by the museum. You can learn about the science of sports and test your athletic abilities. We also have many other wonderful exhibits. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Bye. Have a great one.